The race is on.
Good afternoon and welcome to the race. The race is on, and we're glad that you've joined us this afternoon. This is another installment of the race, presented, of course, by Green the Church. We're so glad that you're here with us. Today, we've got another exciting podcast opportunity for you. We've got some exciting guests that we're going to be bringing before you in just a few moments. We're so grateful to have you here. We want you to go out, make sure you click like and share if you're on Facebook. If you're on YouTube, we want you to push it out to all of your friends and peers. Let them know that we're here having this important dialogue. Green the Church exists so that we might be a repository for the Black faith community, all things having to do with sustainability, eco-justice, liberation theology. We're an all-purpose organization founded 15 years ago by Reverend Dr. Ambrose Carroll, and we have been doing this work for 15 years. We are not new to this. We are true to this, and we're continuing to see God favor us in this area. And we want you to be a part of everything that we do. Why do we call this the race? The race, we call it the race because we are resilient. Number one, we are resilient as a people. We have learned to come through dark times and dark places and dark spaces, but yet we still stand. We still rise. It was Maya Angelou that says, "You may write me down in history with your bitter, twisted lies, but still I rise. I rise." And so we're resilient. We're also Aboriginal. We unapologetically are people of the African diaspora. We've been kissed by nature's son. And so we own that, not just slaves, but we have been kings, and we are kings. We are people who contributed to this society, but also we've been born out of the earth. We understand the earth. The earth has been granted to us, and we make full use of that. And we're to be good stewards. We're Aboriginal. And so not only are we resilient, we're Aboriginal. We're also courageous. We're not afraid. We're not fearing anything. We understand the responsibility that we have as a faith community, especially as faith leaders, whether we're pastors, whether we're business owners, whether we're farmers, whether we're involved in medicine, whether we're involved in legislature, whether we're sitting in seats of power and authority. We have a responsibility as a people to be courageous. We may get tired. Our feet may be tired, but our spirit is rested. And so we are courageous. So we're resilient. We're Aboriginal. We're courageous, and we're also empowering. We take everything that we have and we don't use it just for us. We're here to empower generations to come, generations yet unborn. We're here to stand up against oppression. We're here to equip those to continue to do this great work that God has intended for us to do. So the race is on. We're not here to dream the drift. We have hard work to do and loads to lift. Shun not the struggle. The gift, the struggle is the gift. So listen, we're gonna get right into this today. We're so excited. Once again, we're excited. I'm gonna bring our guest out and give you an opportunity, and we're gonna share what our subject matter will be for today. There's been a wonderful interest across the land in terms of food sovereignty. Not only food sovereignty, but sometimes there's a lack of food in particular neighborhoods and urban environments, even in environments that are non-urban, not only in our nation but across the world. And so today we're going to have a conversation that allows us to empower. One of the things that we do at Green the Church is that we seek to build power for change. We seek to build power for change. Not only do we seek to build power for change, we, as a part of our effort and our mandate to be resilient, we also make sure that we're encouraging others as well. And so today, one of the things that we want to do is bring to you guests who are going to talk about the work that they're doing in urban areas, in communities. And so we've got Black Seed out of Memphis, Tennessee. We've got a power couple, Bobby and Daravia Rich, who founded Black Seeds. They're going to tell you all about who they are. We're excited about them. I literally dug them up just a few days ago and discovered a wellspring of an organization of a power couple who's doing such a tremendous work in the Memphis area. And one of the things we do here at Greener Church is that our job is to amplify voices. And so what we do is not for us, but it's about our people, and it's about what we're doing, and we connect. And so we're glad that Bobby and Daravia are here with us. Say hello. Say hello.
What up? What up? Hey, y'all.
Hi, good afternoon.
Pastor, thank you for having us on. I'm Bobby Rich, Bobby Rich the third. I should say that. Also, giving honor to the people that came before me, and also I'm the market farmer, horticulturalist. I got a running joke. Some of my friends call me an urban peasant. I'm always diving into anthropology and building relationships with people, putting stories, tying the stories to the people to the plants, and giving like a historical context to it all. So that's my spiel, and I'll let my wife introduce
Yes, I am Daravia Rich. I am the founder of our nonprofit Black Seeds and the CEO of Black Seeds Urban Farms. As you mentioned, we are located in Memphis, Tennessee. We're in Uptown Memphis, where we serve a great community in local Memphis with fresh fruits, vegetables, and herbs. Our mission is to empower and educate communities through sowing seeds of food, health, and wellness. We are not just food producers. We have learned that the community that we are in is so much more. So our farm is a true healing space, and it's very family oriented. So we're proud to be in Memphis, and we are super proud of the work and the service that we are providing people in our community.
Thank you all so much. Looking forward to talking to you. We also have as a part of our conversation today, we have with us Tavia Gordon. Tavia Gordon is with the FAMU Cooperative Extension, and she has agreed to come with us. She's here in Palm Beach County, where I am, leading Greener Church, Florida. And we want her to, we're so glad she's here. Listen, I met her a year or so ago, and she's doing a tremendous work here in the Palm Beaches. And we're so grateful for the work that FAMU is doing. And I'm glad that she's able to be here with us. Come on, introduce yourself, Tavia. We're glad you're here.
Thank you, Reverend Carl. So, hello everyone. I'm Tavia Gordon. I'm the Urban Ag Extension Agent here in West Palm Beach, and I'm with Florida A&M University Cooperative Extension and the City of West Palm Beach. So, I do all things urban agriculture. So, within the City of West Palm Beach, we have underserved areas, which are food deserts, and we have established 2 community gardens in these areas to provide residents with fresh and affordable produce, and to also teach them how to grow their own, because you have to teach people how to do things for themselves, and that is important, to teach them to grow what they need. And with the cost of food and everything now, you need to know how to grow what you eat and eat what you grow.
Thank you. So listen, our conversation today is really born out of our 3 pillars. Our 3 pillars, for those who may be listening for the first time, those who have been with us for a while, we always make sure we're repeating them. We are here to build power for change. We support member churches and organizations identifying how they can flex their shared political and people power, and people power to advocate for green policies, which means, so that, what does that mean? We're active, not just in our local community, we're active in government, we're active at the state level, we're active at the national level. As a matter of fact, Greener Church will be represented in Sacramento today at an event that's taking place, of kind of a protest, right? There are absolute reasons to protest. And so Greener Church is involved in that today. We'll have a representative there one of our own, making a speech there at that protest. So Green the Church is not just, let me say, Green the Church, we're not your traditional tree huggers. When we talk about caring for the planet, when we talk about eco justice, because a lot of people have come to us and say, especially some of my peers, pastors that I might know, so what's this Green the Church thing? What do you mean? When is church? It's like, no, it's not. It's not church. It's a movement. Number one, to build power for change. Number two, we're promoting sustainable practices. That's what this conversation falls under, that pillar of sustainable practices, working with church leadership and organizations to make buildings and operations even more sustainable. So the other thing that we do, we help churches establish solar arrays. We help churches with EV charging stations. That's a part of what we call Green the Church Red. And the EV charging stations allow for the churches to create and generate revenue, right? Revenue, but also create jobs, right? So we're really an all-around organization. And then we amplify theology. We cannot do this without a divine mover. We cannot do this apart from the creator of the earth itself. And so we amplify what we call green theology, an emphasis on the messages that Christians and believers have a duty to protect God's creation. And so if you ever have a chance to be involved in some of our events and things like that, we have a national summit coming up. I'll tell you more about it near the end. It's happening in Atlanta in October, around the 12th, 13th, and 14th. When we come together, we have an opportunity for demonstration of what we call considered green sermons, green messages that are focused on the environment and allow our congregations to really see God's hand in the sacred text when it comes to the care of our planet. Because sometimes we think, and Dr. Carroll has said this often, sometimes we think that that's something they do, that's something other folk that don't look like us. They go and hang on to trees, and they go and fight for the pipeline. They go these areas, these issues that happen in our country impact people of color at even greater rates. We know that in Alabama right now, there's a highway in Alabama, a roadway that was created. It was a standard roadway, but the Department of Transportation in Alabama came and created a better thoroughfare. It's pretty good. That makes sense. But they raised it to such a level, when it rains, the communities, which were Black communities, are now flooding where they didn't flood before. And so we know that that's systematic racism at its core. And so those are the kinds of things that are happening all over our country, all over our communities. So when we stand to preach, we're encouraging pastors, when they stand to preach, help their congregations begin to identify our roles. This is not something that they should be concerned about. It's something that we should also be concerned about. And especially when we begin to talk about urban gardens, that's something that we need to do. We need to understand that this Saturday, our children will be out here. We'll be showing them how to plant, right? We'll be showing them how to put their hands in the soil. So those are our pillars. And this conversation today has to do with going from dry deserts to watered gardens. And so it's enough to talk about the bad stuff that's going on, and we do need to highlight that. But this conversation is an opportunity for those of you who are gathered with us listening, and for our guests today, Bobby and Daravia and Tavia, to share with you what's happening in their communities, and then share their insight, the things they've learned. We want to know we want to know, because you have boots on the ground. I'm not talking about the dance. I'm trying to learn it, but but you all are boots on the ground. You're in the thick. You're talking with people every single day. You're engaged in community. So I want to start out by just raising this question: why is the work you do? Why do you see that work as important? Who wants to go in first? Okay, Tavia.
So why do I see the work that I do as important? So food is important. We need food every day, several hours of the day, to sustain our bodies, sustain our minds. And, if we're not eating right, we're not thinking right. because when I'm hungry, I can't operate. So it is important because a lot of the kids that I've worked with, a lot of them do not know where their food comes from in this day and age. So it is important that we teach these youths about how to sow the seeds, how to care for the seeds up until harvesting, and how to also process what they have grown. So it is important because like students, you ask, for example, I had a group in the garden a couple weeks ago, and we were like, "Where do you get your bananas from?" She was like, "Publix." And Publix is a grocery store here in Florida. So she was like, "Publix," and she was like stern with her, "Publix." And we're like, no, Publix get it from a farmer. So it's important to make these students aware of the food that they consume, where it comes from, and that they themselves can grow those foods too. And that is important because you have to, awareness is very important, because once you're not aware, you're in the not know group. You just don't know. When you don't know, it affects you.
Thank you, thank you. These when you talk about young people, and that answer, and I get this from the grocery store. I get my food from the grocery store. It is that's an absolute wonderful opportunity to begin to teach, to actually begin to teach, and that itself is empowering. Bobby and Daravia.
Yes,
Yeah.
and listen, we have so much to say about that, and since we're going on the angle of awareness, that's very important. Bobby and I see it every day with not just the youth. There are many adults who are very much disconnected with where their food comes from as well. But we see it all the time. Our kids, they love, in Memphis, the first thing you ask them, what's your favorite food? They're going to say a buffalo wing. Where does that wing come from? We've
Right.
heard buffalo, we've heard all different kinds of answers. And so,
Khakis.
you know, educating our children in a way to where they understand where their food comes from is super important. Food is a universal language, but we're all about bringing people back to the table, bringing them back to the garden, bringing them back to their roots, and introducing our youth and adults to local farmers, to locally grown foods. It's a gem in current day. There's no secret what we're going through. We're going through some very unprecedented times. Our economy is taking a very hard hit, and there is no better time now than to pick up a skill as growing your own food, because we are, just being bombarded by compromised, low quality food. And so having the skill of growing your own is something that's generational, that should be passed down, and that was actually passed on down to me, which I am so very thankful for through my grandfather. But it is definitely a skill that we must pass down.
Yeah. I'm just gonna kind of echo what both Daravia and is it Tavia or Tavia?
Tavia.
Tavia. That y'all really kind of hit the head on. I think that there is some questions about we do know what's going on right now. We do know things aren't operating as they should be, but they are operating, right? I think it's a conversation to say, are things not working or are they working, right? Like
Yeah.
sometimes things are working as they should be working. And when we look at like the agricultural system, just to answer the question, why is what we do so important? It was never set up to feed everybody. This is a system that, um, you know, is trying its best to feed 8 billion people on the earth. Okay, that's one side of it. But the other caveat is that it's backed by shareholders and it's being ran off of a bottom line, right? I don't look at as a person who, an agricultural person. I don't look at this system as efficient based off of how many people I feed. I look at it as being efficient based off how much money I make. And that is just an inherent problem when we're talking about something that people have to have, right? Like food. And so when we're growing food locally and we're kind of like reintroducing people to food all over again, like you said, people taste foods and they like, this is disgusting. I don't like tomatoes. Well, you ate a tomato that was from Mexico, and it had to get all the way here
Yeah.
and be refrigerated and like all that technology and all the exploitation of cheap labor. And so it's so many different layers of what happens for you to get the banana to your table, right? Like, we call that a banana republic for a reason, right? So there's so much layering that goes into this global food trade that when you do grow things locally, your carbon net is zero. Number one, you're taking care of the people who need the food the most, right? And it tastes and smells and looks better because you're growing it locally, right? And so the nutritional value is there, the relationships are there, just like you said, like it's all one kind of sphere. And I think we've lost something by splitting all this up. Like we've kind of lost everything because of, we've been disindigenized, as you said, from the diaspora. And so now we have to kind of follow our way back to being indigenized, right? What was my music? What was my food? What was my songs? What were my techniques on engaging with my, so my environment? What did I make my soap out of? What did I so we're kind of coming back to that again. And so we have to do
Yeah.
that intergenerationally. We have to do that across, state lines. And so I think that's why I think it's important.
Yeah, it's an act of empowerment and teaching people how to grow their own food, foster self sufficiency, economic opportunity, and cultural preservation. Bobby and I have been going on a limb and teaching about community sufficiency more so with self sufficiency. So that's why it's important to us.
And
Go
also
ahead.
to add to what Bobby and Daravia said, it also reduces food waste. So you grow your own food, you eat what you produce, you don't have all this waste, and it reduces the carbon emissions, reduce the travel for the food. Persons don't have to travel to the grocery store, so you have less greenhouse gases being released in the atmosphere.
It works all the way around. I couldn't help but think, thank you all for those comments. I couldn't help but think as you were talking, Bobby, the economic piece to this, right? When we look at this, there's economics engaged in this. Uh, Historically, we understand that at one time there were 19 million acres that were held by blacks of land that were held. And so folks said, well, it's a shame that they took that land, but they understood that when it was being taken, there was an understanding of why there were things we didn't understand of the value of it. And one of the things that hurts my heart is when families let go of land, because I had a conversation with someone just a few weeks ago. They have some land in Georgia somewhere, and they thought, I don't even go up there. I don't care what they do with it. I was like, oh my God, it's like, oh my God, no. What do you, when you think about this value, when you think about the economics, what would you say to people who, so we say 19 million was taken away. Yeah, but we still got some land, y'all. What would you say to people to encourage people to value uh, this land, these land holdings that we have from an economic standpoint, but also historically, right? Grandmama, granddaddy, great grandmama, they leave these legacies. Let's talk about that for me.
Listen, I am the one to say, don't let grandmama's land go. Don't forget about granddaddy's land. Please keep it. Land acquisition is already tough as it is. And so if you have been inherited land, that is a blessing of its own. Most people, when they acquire inherited land, they think about there's like generational trauma that comes along with it. They think, okay, mama or daddy didn't want it, or auntie didn't want it, or whatever the case is. And so they look at it as a burden and not an opportunity. And so we are all about changing the narrative when it comes to agriculture, especially when it comes to young Black farmers in America. We want people to see that there are not only viable careers in this industry, but there can be a very viable lifestyle, and generational wealth can be passed down from the the disconnection and inheritance and just keeping the land maintained. We're stewards of the land, and becoming a farmer is one thing, one side to this, but there are so many roles that need to be played when it comes to this bigger picture. And so, a lot of it comes with environmental racism. People, are stigmatized from this type of thing, and they think about the hardships and the challenges that their grandparents or great grandparents went through. I have my own background story of my family going through hardships and having to move because land was taken away from my family. And so I think that we are on the rise, and that was one of the things that I really liked about this topic about green faith rising, that it has a few years ago, it was just the term, everybody was happy to have the green thumb, but now we're all seeing that it is important for us to adopt this practice and learn this skill, because we need to grow our own food.
Right. The question was about just to
Passing
make
on
sure.
land.
Okay, passing on land, and the economic aspect.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Of land acquisition. This is why terms like environmental racism kind of annoy Black folks. Right. As a Black farmer, who comes from a legacy of sharecropping, it's a redundant term, because the type of racism that we deal with here in America is based off of land. Like, I know what color you are, but because I see that, I know that you can't vote. I know that you can't have land, that you can't have. That's just a precursor, right? That's just kind of like a telltale sign that you cannot engage in the economy, right? And so passing white and all this comes a thing, can I or can I not engage? When my great grandfather was a sharecropper, on my mother's side, my father's great grandfather, he grew his own tobacco, but on my mother's side, he was a sharecropper. He couldn't have a cow. He couldn't have a pig. He couldn't have a chicken, because he could not engage in anything economic. He had to have money from his crop sharecropper.
Right.
You didn't have real money when you were a sharecropper. You got the fake money that they made on the plantation, and you took that to the store, and you never were out of debt. Right? They'll tell you every time. And the reason I can tell you this, Pastor, is because these are the stories that I'm collecting. This is what I'm responsible to do. When I'm in the room as a Black farmer, I have to know these things. Like, I'm responsible, for bringing all this into the room to bring a perspective of how do we reconcile the economic injustices that my ancestors had, right? Because once you get a chicken, now I got eggs and stuff. Now mama could take eggs to the market, right? Now I got socks. Because now now you're building an economy. You got a pig, you cash in at the end of the season. You get a piggy bank, you feed them slot, feed them what you eat, and then you cash out. So livestock was a sign of economic freedom and sovereignty back then, right? And so when you base it off of land, you take the land, sometimes outright kill people, push them off of it, enslave them to the land, right? And then you control the labor, right? So what we're dealing with now, when we're talking about land acquisition, you got a whole bunch of people raising their hand who really need to put their hand down. Saying that they got the solution, saying that, how would you know that? You didn't talk to nobody. You see what I'm saying? And so in order to bridge the gap and really make things better economically, we have to repair or reparate, however you want to say it, the things that we got wrong before. People outright got they lands duped from them.
Right.
It just like you said, I got a land in Mississippi, right? When somebody says that, what they're saying is, they're most of the time, we have, in order to engage in talking about land and economic fairness, we got to kind of repair the stuff that we got wrong before in
Absolutely.
order to move forward. And it's kind of arrogant to just say, like, hey, y'all, let's all just get along. You see what I'm saying, Pastor? When
Yeah,
before that wasn't the case. Yeah. So that's just what
Yeah.
I feel.
Land acquisition is a powerful tool for change. It truly is.
powerful too. It's a power. We're glad we have Teresa V. Wakefield, uh, um, Jacksonville, Florida. Glad you're here listening in. We also got Dr. Carroll. He's actually listening in. I believe he's trying to get back from Spain. He's been there at a conference, and he said, "Black farmers are the salt of the earth. Black farmers are the salt of the earth," and it's
Nice.
important. That's good stuff. I want to bring in. I want to talk to Tavia. I want to talk to both of you, but all of you. But I think about the fact that we have this opportunity with these community gardens, these urban areas where there are no farms here in Palm Beach County. Well, take that back. There are no farms in the inner city in Palm Beach County. Um, we have the urban farms, but Tavia, do you see that as as a gateway to introduce our young people, our communities, to the opportunities uh, for uh, labor opportunities, for agriculture? That's the word I'm looking for. Agricultural opportunities in terms of career, in terms of land acquisition. Do you see how this can be a gateway for that?
Yes, and before I answer that question, I have
Sure.
also had a point to make. So, as
Please.
the Ravia had mentioned about land being passed down and the difficulty with that. So, as an extension agent, so my area is urban agriculture, but I also act as a facilitator. So, if the community is in need of services as it relates to here's property, financial banking or any other department, I can also source individuals who can come and deliver that particular subject to the community. So a year ago, we had a Here's Property workshop here in West Palm Beach where we addressed the issue of Here's Property, and we had legal aid come in and talk to residents about it. So because we know that Here's Property is like the pass down of real estate through multiple generations, and that's without them having a will or a clear title transfer. So that's an issue. So without having those two particular documents, they are unable to do anything with the land, make any development, get any financial loans or things like that. So whatever state you're in, you can reach out to your extension, your county extension, and they can like guide you to resources to help you sort those issues out as it relates to here's property. And back to Reverend Carl, and your question was?
Do you see what you do with the urban in the area here as a gateway for introducing children, adults to
Yes, yes.
agriculture?
Yes, so as I had mentioned before, of some kids and adults too who have no idea where their food comes from or what it looks like growing in the field. And when I work with these youths and adults, I introduce them to the different areas of agriculture because when the typical person looks at agriculture, they're looking at, oh, a farmer who's dirty and always in the field, just sweaty and working. And that's all they see of agriculture. But agriculture, you have to work with the soil, you have to work with insects, you have to work with plants. So insects entomology, the soil agronomist, the plants botany, the pH of the soil, agricultural chemist. So there's so much more to agriculture than just tilling the soil. Tilling the soil is one, but you introduce them to these career paths so that they know that agriculture is not just digging in the dirt, putting a seed in, watching it grow, and that's it. It's more to it. So I approach it that way to get them more involved and more connected to agriculture. So that's a gateway to get them in. And you have them grow their own. So it gives them fulfillment to see they started something from seed and they're able to harvest it and taste it. Because a lot of the kids like some vegetables that they did not like eating, and when they grow it, they eat it. They consume it. And that goes for myself too, because there's some things that I don't eat, and when I grow it, I eat it. So that's I use that gateway to get them in, to get them on board.
I believe there should be more done, of course, in our educational systems that help push young people in this direction. Everybody, of course, can't be star football players. Everybody can't be a Steph Curry. Everybody can't be a rapper, right? Everybody can't be these images that are out there. When I talk to Bobby and Tavia, Bobby and the names went off the screen, so that just messed me all up. When I talked to you all the other day, and you mentioned Bobby, that people, when they see you, the young people, you talked about the young people that you've interacted with, right? And then they see you with the dreads. It's like, this is a farmer. Like, what is that? How can you be a farmer? That's not the picture they have in their head, right?
Mhm.
I want to talk about the impact. Well, before I talk about the impact, I want to talk about, I had a question here. Have you ever experienced pushback from within your own community when it comes to what you do? And that's for both. That's for FAMU. That's for Black Seed. Have you ever experienced pushback in terms of what you do from within?
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
received some pushback. One, we're located in inner city, and so when it comes to growing foods and farming, a lot of people don't really see inner city farming as being something that could be truly effective to feed a community. So we have seen pushback in terms of that, being inner city farmers. Um, you can chime in if you like, Bobby, but we've also, so far as producing food, um, it can be a challenge at times to introduce new foods to adults. As you mentioned, Tavia, how you didn't like certain vegetables, but when you grew it on your own, there was a totally different experience. And we have witnessed that pushback from some adults. They will come to the farm and say, "No, I don't eat that. I don't like okra." And then another neighbor will come and get that same okra, chop it up and stew it, serve soup at our farm,
Or
and
pickle it.
or
Yeah, the
pickle
kids
it.
love pickle okra. They
And
don't even know.
our kids
Yeah.
went crazy with the
Ate the
pickle
whole mason
okra.
jar.
Like, even just talking about okra, we have so many stories that we can share about the reintroduction of tasting okra or whatever. But we have received some pushback in terms of that, of people who have this preconceived, I don't like this food, and then it's prepared a different way, or it's cooked with a different variety of whatever fruit or vegetable it is. It's a totally different experience.
Yeah, I say both of those. So those are kind of two different ones. It's like an economic, like, well, so one pushback is kind of like reintroducing somebody to a fruit that they probably got flown from halfway across the world. That was probably like a slice of tomato, type of like a cheeseburger tomato. And you got all these heirloom varieties that some taste like this and that. And I'm cutting them we doing tomato tastings at the farm from fresh. So it's like, some people need to be reintroduced to a higher quality of produce that they probably didn't, like, they just didn't have the privilege of enjoying. I didn't grow up rich like that. We couldn't go and get the best kind of whatever, and so because of that, my relationship with some foods were a little bit, messed up because of that. And then I think this generation now, a lot of pushback comes from not having somebody who can actually prepare, as Tavia was saying, and process these foods, right? And cook these foods as they should be, because we had grandmamas, right? And so that pattern on what to do, the recipes on what to add in are very clear. That is something that's kind of being lost to amnesia and some other factors. But when you have culture and when you have the recipes, you have the traditions,
Yeah.
you don't need somebody else's stuff. You don't need, somebody else's everything. You get, a garden, what grows locally, when it's ready seasonally. My grandmama knew greens was out of season because she would say, "Don't eat them because they taste bitter in the summertime." So she could relate that to the taste. Okay. Now, what we do that as a horticulturalist, I know what my grandma, it's ready to go to seed. It's done. It's out of season. So it's going to be tough. It's going to be rough, and it's going to be bitter. Right. When you're in relationship with your food that way, you know where it is,
When it should
when
be
it's
grown.
ready, and what they call us master gardeners. I'm at the UT extension program. They got all these fancy New York Times words or what they want to call us. They didn't call my great granddaddy none of it. He just knew what to go and get in the field, in the woods. Right. So the pushback kind of comes from, I believe, just that separation of the generations that we're trying to put back together again, and people being kind of introduced or eating some foods, based off of their like class situation. If they didn't have the fun, a lot of poor people can't eat 5 to 6 vegetables a day. That's what you're supposed to by the USDA regulations, right? Nutritional wise. A lot of these people are eating 60% of their diets ultra processed. It's not because they don't want the food that I'm growing. It's because they don't have access to the foods or they don't have the resource. So that some of the pushback isn't like, I don't want your stuff. It's kind of like, I just need to be reintroduced it, and somebody needs to come up with a pathway to where these people can get the quality.
It's like we need a back to the South movement, back to the dirt, back to the, because it's inherently who we are, right?
It's
We
innate.
understand. I was sharing about yams. A friend of mine asked me how to cook yams, how to cook yams, how to cook sweet potatoes. So the first thing I said, when you put it in the pot, do not put a lot of water in it because it makes its own water. The water is in it. You could actually take a yam. So I'm a 30-year veteran, Army veteran, just retired a year ago. But you could. There are plants that you can find that you can't find water. If you can find a yam, it's got water in it, right? A lot of times, folks, we don't know that simple thing. These are survival things, right? These are survival things that are necessary and needful. But a lot of people don't know that, right? My grandfather owned land in Louisiana. We still have some of that land down there. We've got cousins down there. Green Church took a group of people down to our national conference last year. Was in Louisiana, Shreveport area, Mansfield area, and we have relatives who still own 100 acres of land and things like that. But they have the bulls land. They they have ponds on the land. You can go out there and do fishing, but we know the ponds have to do with how they're necessary for how the land takes care of itself. So that's how every summer, that's where I was down in Louisiana, right? Understanding, picking ears of corn. My grandfather used to be behind the mule. My dad would drive in from St. Louis and he'd blow his horn, but my grandpa would never look over at us while he had the mule. He'd just be the mule, but because the mule had to stay on that line, right? That mule had to stay on that line. So he might wave, but he'd keep that mule going down that line, right? So we understood that watermelons out of the ground, et cetera. But then maybe, what do you think about a back? And we're going to back to the South, a back to the soil kind of movement that needs to take place to bring children and young people and adults out of the urban areas and say, we got the urban farms, good. We need to build into what we do now. We're going to take you over here and show you. We're going to take you, and so you know what a black farmer looks like. So you can see a black farmer who owns all these huge machines and all this, and have the bulls and all. You can see that and go, wow, that's a whole new opportunity. I know I got excited. I get excited. Y'all got to forgive me. I get excited because I'm supposed to be letting Tavia talk. I'm just supposed to be facilitating. Tavia, say something. Let me be quiet.
The pushback on my end is where, persons, as I said before, they see you growing plants, it's you get dirty, They don't want to be a part of that. Like, it's looked down on. And that's been for ages. Farmers have been looked down on, especially for smaller farmers. So I have to meet people where they are and then grow with them. That's how I approach it. So you teach them, they learn, and you grow with them. They grow with you. So you just have to approach it that way. We sow the seeds together, we till the soil together. I explain whatever I'm doing, I explain the importance of it and why I do it. You just don't sow the seed at this depth and cover it. You tell them like the depth to sow a particular seed, and then the germination time, meaning the time that the seed emerges from planting. So you explain all that stuff, and they get more interested and more ready to more eager to learn more and to get more involved.
Thank you. So listen, we're glad we got Deborah Rich on here. Deborah Rich says most people don't know what they don't know about growing food. Right? Oh, they put
That's
it right
true.
here.
That's
Yeah.
my mom,
Can
by
we
the
say
way.
that that's Bobby's mom? That's my mother-in-law.
That's your mom.
Rich.
Hey, Ma.
Yeah, but that is very true. You know, people don't know what they don't know. And that's why it is important for us to pass on tradition, because this is our culture, this is our tradition. And just going a little bit back to what Tavia just mentioned about careers, you are absolutely right. When people see me and Bobby, they see my husband. He's a retired firefighter. He would go through these same communities fighting fires and being a first responder, and now he's in those same communities growing food and delivering food by feet. And so they see him in the change of careers, and it sparks an interest in some way. Same with me. I am in agribusiness. Our young Black and brown women have no idea that there are many viable careers in agriculture. Listen, my husband is out there in the dirt, but I am not. I have other business that I tend to. And so I am very much in the agriculture industry as he is, but I am not getting dirty because I have other roles that I play. And so representation matters, and it is up to us to show people what they don't know, passing on this knowledge.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, just speaking of these very very talented and very um I guess what I want to follow up is just saying is, as a Black man, um as a Black indigenous man, I'm indigenous to somewhere else, right? So even my role here is kind of different, right? I participated in a lot of tribal rituals, a lot of ceremonies with the Choctaw people, understanding how they steward where they're from, because this is their area. What's poisonous? We kind of forget that all this stuff was kind of granted to us by grace, by the grace of someone. They don't have to tell me this stuff. Just like somebody white wanted to open up a soul food restaurant, you can do that. If you don't know nobody Black, it might fail. If you don't know the patterns on how to prepare this, and you with your own hubris say, I'm finna put something together, and then you might fall short. And I truly believe that we live better and we could be the best human beings in any area on earth if we be in relationship with those people who are there the longest, right? When I speak to my West African cousins and people, it's very, very clear where I come from. It's no question about that, And so my indigeneity is like my liberty. It's like it can't be taken away from you. Can oppress me, like we can be oppressed, right? Me and my wife were talking about this the other day, but my liberty was never up for grabs, right? That was never on the table, And so I get questions like that sometimes from like my white counterparts and other botanists. Or what kind of plants make you feel liberated or liberated? And I'm like, I don't nothing. That's mine. That's me. Granted from me by my creator, And so I feel like the best service that we can do as human beings on earth, that's the mandate. The Chinese, they have their what is it, the golden mandate or the whatever, they've been around 5,000 years. We have to remember America is very immature. America is very young, and you can see that in the sexism, the racism, this isn't, we know we're talking about food, but you got people arguing about stuff that don't even matter, right? And so I don't want to drag this on. I'm getting on my soapbox, but these things aren't separated. And I feel like when we have these discussions, we can see the interconnectedness of that immaturity, and why we have to, just like Tavia said, meet people where they are, So.
Sometimes to be that beacon of hope. So that's your mom got, she's deep sister here. So we got let me see, real life science. This is Teresa Wakefield says real life science being taught. This is wonderful today. Real life science is being taught. So this is really good. These relationships that we have. Here's another one. In most households, the meal of the day is what most convenient and what's most convenient. Yeah, and most likely it's not veggies. It's not veggies, right? Yeah, and so this conversation when we talk about it's a conversation about food, and as you said, Bobby, there's some things that people are arguing about that have nothing to do with that. That's not life sustaining, right? There's some conversations that are going on, and people are preoccupied, while those who truly know, and most times it's not the people who look like us, those other conversations really become smoke screens, right? They become smoke screens, and we don't recognize that for us, there's an opportunity now. There's an opportunity now to grow our own food in the inner cities. There's an opportunity, not even just in the inner cities, but even in areas in other southern states. We don't think of Florida sometimes as a southern state, but in other areas, there's opportunities to learn to grow your own food, to feed yourself. This is empowering, right? This is empowering, but also there's an opportunity to get wealth, because everybody needs to eat. And instead of simply being the consumers, we need to learn to become producers, right? We need to learn to become producers. I believe the urban garden is an opportunity for the urban gardens are opportunities for us to have more nutritious meals, and to learn more about the earth, and to learn more about where the food comes from, learn how to do your own food, but also now learn how to take what you know and use it to your advantage for generations to come, and stop being and learn to become more self-reliant, right? We've got churches all across the country. If we don't have anything else, my Dr. Carroll, he's on here listening, but he always says this, and it is quite profound. It's simple, but yet profound. As a people, we often spend our times crying about what we don't have, instead of celebrating what we do have. We cry with a loaf of bread under our arms, right? That's all I got is this bread. Well, take the bread and make a sandwich. Take the bread and make some toast. Take the bread and make some, like my daddy used to do, a call it must go. He'd go in the refrigerator at the end of the week, end of the week, because there were 6 of us in the house, must go. And daddy would go in the refrigerator and take the scraps of bread, because we wouldn't eat the ends, and he'd make bread pudding. Come on, talk to me, somebody. And so there's always a way to celebrate what we have, but becoming producers. How does what you do enable us? How do you see that enabling us? Let's say, what would be your legacy? We're near the end of our time, but what would be your legacy in terms of what you do, whether it's with Green Seed, whether it's with the FAMU Cooperative Extension Program? What would you see your legacy being in the communities where you're serving now?
So what I see is providing giving access to resources, because resources are needed in order to get things done. So whether it be financial, educational, just connecting the community with resources and making networks for the community. So if a person wants to start growing their own food, they know where to go, they know where to get seedlings, free seeds, free seedlings, access to small community grants, access to a network of people who they can share and engage with to make a stronger community. So that's my aim, to make the community more self-sustainable and reliable on themselves in whatever they're doing.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm gonna
Bobby and
try.
Daravia.
Yes, I know we're two different people, so I'm gonna try to make mine super quick. But I would see Black Seed's legacy being embodying many, many things. But for sure, restoring the land and the relationship with the land, feeding communities, not just bodies. We don't just grow crops; we are literally growing people. But just teaching the next generation of people to grow and learn, making sure that we are rooted in love and family and community, and that we are building a legacy of food justice and sovereignty. We believe that food should be a right and not just a privilege.
Mhm. I would want uh, our legacy or my legacy to I would say to show people what what happened in the past, so we can have an honest conversation about the present, so we can really think about like real solutions for the future. That will be my thing. I think that if we can move the reference point just back a little bit, we can encompass a better picture on what we're looking at. I think right now we're just getting a little snapshot, and so a lot of the solutions are short-sighted. I think that if we just reach back just a little bit and just kind of, again, widen our perspective, I feel like we can have a future where 60% of the population is going to sleep hungry. A large portion of those are women and children, right? And so that's what I want to be remembered for, to live in our actual reality, not the reality of the global food market.
Yes, and we hope to have fresh live produce on shelves all across this nation.
Wonderful. I got it.
I
Go ahead, Tavia.
I also wanted to add, so with extension, a lot of persons don't know what extension is. And with FAMU Extension, we're the outreach arm of the university's land grant mission. So um, our three pillars are teaching, research, and extension. So we have agents. So our agents are mostly in North Florida, which is in Leon County area, Tallahassee. And myself, along with our program assistant, are the only two agents south. So we provide workshops, educational workshops to the community, all ages, all different types of groups. We've worked with churches, non-governmental organizations, schools, you name it. And these services are normally free to the community. And as I said before, if the community requires a particular service, for example, workshop on here's property, I am not versed in that area, so I can um, recruit someone, an agent, who that's her specialty, and she comes and deliver that workshop. So whatever state you're in, I think we have 19 land grant universities throughout the US, and all those universities have an extension arm. So you can reach out to your extension, your land grant university extension office, to get resources and information about um, health and wellness, agriculture, youth development, nutrition. The list goes on and on. So you can reach out to your land grant universities for those services.
Great question. So I have this There's a question, how can churches in the area work closer? This is for both of you all. How can churches in your areas work closer with you, whether that's in Memphis with Black Seed or here in Palm Beach County with the cooperative extension? How can churches, how do you engage congregations? How can that be done?
Please email us at blackseeds2020@gmail.com.
We'll put it in the chat too.
Yes, well, I don't think that we can get in the
Oh, okay.
public chat. Ryan, or if anyone can drop our email in the chat, it's blackseeds2020@gmail.com. Feel free to email us, direct messages on any of our social sites, because we are always checking it. But we are always more than happy to work with local churches, local organizations whose missions align with what we do.
Yeah, and shout out to Tavia, to you too. All language.
Same. So just reach out to me. My email address is tavia.gordon@famu.edu. And just reach out. Whether you guys want to volunteer, you want us to do a workshop on a particular topic, we can come out, you can come out to us. Just reach out, and then we'll go from there. So we're always welcome to working, open to working with the community and to help in the best way we can to make an impact.
We're gonna come see you too. We're gonna come holler at you.
We're
too,
definitely gonna visit. But I want to mention this: that email that's in the group chat is incorrect. It's Black Seeds with the S. So seeds, SEEDS 2020@gmail.com. Please contact us. We'll be happy to hear from you.
Thank you. Listen, this has been really great, and I think somebody else is. Well, y'all see that stuff that you see that chat. Teresa Wakefield wants to connect with you all. Black Seed. So I guess she put some information there, but she's yeah, Gamble for State HD 14. Teresa, we like Teresa. So she wants to connect with you all. Thank you all for sharing your information. Also, Green the Church National Summit is taking place in Atlanta, Georgia, October 12 through 14. Our theme for this year is Black Church Resilience, Hubs Building Wealth and Preparedness in Our Communities. Galatians 6:9. Let us not become weary in doing good, for at the proper time we will reap a harvest if we do not give up. That's Atlanta, Georgia. So if you'd like to register and be a part of that, we'd be glad to have you in the space. I believe that's all I have. For those of you who are in Florida, I do have to say this since I got the microphone, that Greater Antioch will be having our Earth Day event on Saturday. We'll be in the flower bed showing our children how to get in the dirt, and we'll be here from 10 to 1. So we've had we thank God for some of our sponsors, Home Depot, the Office of Sustainability here in West Palm Beach is also sharing with us some things that we can get, some giveaways. And we're looking for somebody to bring us, I need 2 trees. 2 trees. I'm just going to say that. I need 2 trees to plant. And but we're able to take care of that. That's a Green the Church joint. And thank you, Tavia, for your recommendation the other day. We followed that up. That's it. I don't have anything else. I think everything is I think we've done everything we're supposed to do this afternoon. Listen, thank you for joining the podcast. Thank you, Bobby and Daravia Rich. Thank you, Tavia Gordon. I don't know how to say that last part. Satal. Thank you for joining us. We're so glad that you were our guest. We hope once again, as God will favor us, that we'll bring you back in here again. This has been a wonderful and dynamic conversation, certainly a teachable moment and an opportunity for you to share your stories. And we're glad that you determined to be with us. We're glad you came. And even at short notice, we are so glad, so grateful. Wish you Godspeed and in the future and all that you do. And if I'm ever in Memphis, yep, I'm gonna look you up and come eat something out the garden. It'll be me over there. I'll just be putting stuff in my pockets.
That's what we're used to. I'm telling you, that's the style.
Yeah. So look, listen, thank you all for joining the race. The race is on. I said it at the beginning. We're not here to dream to drift. We have hard work to do and loads to lift. Shun not the struggle. The struggle is the gift. Be strong. God bless.
The race is on.